Hi, you guys. Ginger Cook here. This is Acrylic Painting Monday. Another fun acrylic tutorial is going to be presented today. It's basically our 101 still life of Pears. It's a perfect beginner lesson, but even if you're an advanced artist, I bet you could learn a few things just from reviewing some of the stuff you may have already forgotten or forgot you knew. How's that, right? Sometimes just putting it up here in the mind again, going, oh yeah, I do that, that's why. Or I should do that because, or these kinds of things. Or I should switch brushes, I should dry, all those things. So we're going to talk about that. We talk about this as in a premiere. This has been pre-recorded, but hopefully if John and I are somewhere in the world, this can be viewed.
That we can join you.
That we can join you. It's like not on an airplane or we're...
Let's see, when are we doing this
When are we doing this, John? Do we know?
It should be the 24th
of
October.
24th of October. Where are we in the 24th of October? John's like, you're going, God, where are they? Where are we supposed to be? We don't know.
Oh, we're on the Virgin. So we're
on the Virgin cruise ship heading back to Miami.
Yep.
Okay.
So, from Barcelona to Miami.
So that probably...
We're in the middle of the ocean.
In the middle of the ocean. Wow. So we're going to do...
We're in the middle of the Atlantic, bouncing around.
Yeah, there we are. So hopefully if we have a connection, we'll be with you. I want to thank our moderators who are also joining us. We don't know who you are, but whoever you are, thank you. This is how you do the heart. I don't even... My hands go that way.
Your thumbs need to go further down.
What am I doing wrong here?
Thumbs down. Well, you can do it this.
I don't know. Anyway, I never make those little symbols. So how about this?
Oh, that's good. That's
good, right?
That's good.
All right. So again, we're going to just move our cameras down to the table. This is a 12 by 12. We're doing this large enough so that you can really see the brush strokes. Sometimes when you do things small, particularly for beginners, if you overload your brush, you don't get the finesse that's needed on a painting like this. Even though it seems very simple, you don't get the finesse because you get a lot of paint on your brush. You're doing it on a little tiny canvas, and you can't quite get the effect you can if you can do it a little bit larger. Okay? Now, for instance, for the Erics of the world who like to paint large, a painting like this, believe it or not, say 40 by 40 Eric, and really done the way the original artist, this is one of our old DGs, Manet, did it. Not Monet, but it was one of his friends that hung out together, Manet. This is his work from the 1800s. Something like this is a great dining room piece. So if you did, say, a couple of pears and maybe did a couple apples that were similar, you could hang them side by side. That's a kind of a tip for those of you who want to take this to the next level. Yes and yes. But anyway, we're going to be doing these pears, originally done in the 1800s in France by the French artist Manet. All right.
And that's different than mayonnaise, too.
It's different than mayonnaise, yes. And we thought that, I was explaining to John that this is, for instance, for those of you who are thinking about, in your art journey and where you want to be on it. This is sort of an initiate lesson, or initiates. That's a little bit past beginner, but not quite. And John was kind of curious about that word, weren't you? So initiates, not idiots, right?
I'm telling you, that's a strange word. Never heard that word before that way.
I thought that...
Initiates.
Initiates.
I belong to the Initiate Club.
Well, you're not in the club yet. You're an initiate. You're thinking about it, right? I think that's how I'm using it.
Wait a minute. I can only think about being an initiate? I thought I was an initiate before I joined the club. Now I'm really confused.
Well, you have the intention to join. Like, for instance, I think initiates are when you join the nunnery, but you haven't taken the vows. So you have intention.
We have vows to join our academy? I missed that.
We need vows.
Did we get married or something? What kind of vows are we talking about?
Okay, you guys. Well, I'm just trying
to follow along the conversation here.
I'm just toying with the idea of when people join, besides just vowing to pay us, right? That we have the artist creed or something that everybody.
Ooh, I like that. The artist creed.
The artist creed, you know, like.
I'll get the stuffy staff working on that one.
Yeah, it's the artist creed. And, you know, this is before you take those vows. You're an initiate. You're still putting your paintbrush in the water a little bit, but you haven't dumped it all the way in. I don't know. We're starting. This is a 12 by 12 canvas. It's just been painted a burnt umber color. Okay.
There's a touch of cad in there because I had some left over if I threw it in.
So will cadmium yellow?
No, I think it was a red.
Cadmium red. Okay, but just a brown canvas.
Yeah.
And we're going to go ahead and trace it on.
Just in one waste paint.
Because let's just take a pen here and trace it out. You probably could freehand this in, but, you know, sometimes the shape of a pear, I'll tell you, interesting. It's a fine line, literally, between a pear and an apple and a peach. It's color, shape, these kinds of things are, you know, say the difference between a randa goldfish and then, you know, a regular goldfish, it's shape, yes? And so pears have a distinct shape. Often we talk about somebody's body being pear-shaped. Everybody kind of knows what it is. So if you make a round pear, I don't care how, if you painted it all the pear colors and put all the little pear stems on it and did all the rest, people are going to go, you made a green apple, huh? Pear, huh? I don't see the, dude, I don't see the pear, right? So, all right, that being said, you see how it kind of curves in here? Oh, let's just test our transfer paper, make sure it's working using some Sorel.
Ooh, I didn't see it. I'm not seeing it.
It's not. Why not?
I have no idea. You guys are going the right way. Nada. Oh, it's barely there. I can see it, but you won't be able to see it.
Well, we need a different color then. You know, it's interesting. I wonder if there's quality control with this stuff.
Well, it's probably age thing too. It's probably one of our old.
Do you think they age? I wonder. You know, if it ages, it's a little disappointing when, you know, when you buy a $15 roll of this stuff. Of course, you can use it over and over again. Let's see. Let's try another piece. Here's another yellow. Let's try that one. See if that one works. No. How about white?
The one white box.
All right. Trying white. Yeah, white works.
There we go. This is why you test it.
Yeah. Yeah, test it. And also, sometimes, John, I've found that it depends what kind of paint you used underneath. If you used any kind of gloss or varnish with it, or any kind of medium, boy, nothing wants to draw over. It's like trying to draw over ice. Yeah. So think of, you know, a lot of times, probably the best it will draw over is like plain brown gesso, like from like Holbein. It really does. But we're a little bit, well, we're tight here. So when we use
frugal.
Frugal. There we are. Frugal. You know, don't want to say Scrooge. We're going to say frugal. We'll go with that.
We're frugal.
And so when we are talking about our pear here, you know, a lot of times we will, you know, when we're doing a painting, we will do the, we will take the leftover paint. We did a lot of that before our Stay Wet palette allowed us to keep the paint a little longer. Notice this little triangle in here for the shadow. This is important. All right, and I'm going to I don't think I need to put the stem in, but I'll just do it anyway, just so you have it. This one we'll put in here too, just so you have it. Now let's look. Did that draw that on there? Oh, you guys, aren't you so impressed? And then here like this and like that. Yes and yes. And let's put the little shadow under here, like this. Ooh. So there, isn't that difference? The difference between the yellow and the white. And I like, you know, we leave everything in. We don't, even when we're doing premieres and we can edit stuff out. If I make a mistake or boo-boo, I just show you, man. I'll show you when I get mad. I'm going, oh my gosh, I can't believe I did this, and stomp around. I'm happy to show it to you because, you know, artists are allowed a little bit of temper, don't you think? I've always thought so. Maybe because I have one. All right. So I'm going to go ahead and remove the Sorel. I should mark on that great Shirelle. I put an X on this one because this seems to be good stuff. I put an X right here, then knowing we like that one.
Oh, that's smart to do.
Yeah, that's a good one as opposed to a bad one. All right, so here's our square canvas, and this will be nice. I promise you. Now, the printout doesn't look really. That looks pretty dull, doesn't it? But let me show you.
Well,
this
paper.
is the same. That's on cheap paper. Let me show you the actual colors in this. You'll notice that the background is still slightly lighter than the darkest dark on the stem, and that this pair is greener. And this pair is more of a yellow, white color. And that you've got some grays, but notice that the background here is all soft and fuzzed out. It's not perfectly straight. It's there. This is a very interesting, this is what you'd call a study in pairs. And it's extremely well done. You will learn a lot from painting this. And depending on how you're able to manipulate your brush and so forth, I think you're going to find that there's a lot in it for every level of artist. And of course we'll have the traceable on our website and the reference photo. And I encourage you to really look at the reference photo. Manet got into an awful lot of art museums in the world, and because he was really a great artist. And just even something as simple as Pears were beautifully done. Okay. So, all right, here's my Pears, and we're going to start off with the color chart, and I'm going to say, here's our tape. I always like to tape down my paper so it doesn't move. All right, so this, again, because I'm going to just bring this up here, because I'm using a palette that is Stay Wet, even though I've used this for other paintings, I can use the same colors. I've got cadmium yellow light, cad yellow medium, and yellow oxide. I've got cadmium orange, cad red light, magenta. I've got, this is called a Holbein mauve. You can make that with ultramarine blue and magenta. I've got burnt sienna. I will put out burnt umber. I've got, this is buff titanium. I'm really encouraging people to use this color. When you lighten a color with buff, it already tones it down a bit because it's got a bit of brown on it. Didn't have buff titanium, you could take titanium white and a little bit of burnt umber and yellow oxide and make something similar. You're just talking about sort of a French vanilla ice cream color. Yes.
Wait, you're calling the buff titanium French vanilla?
You don't think you think it's a little darker
than that?
Not when
I make the French vanilla.
Well, then what do you think it is?
It's very light beige.
Light beige, that works too, right? Light beige.
That's not French vanilla.
Okay, and then I've got zinc white.
Gotta have zinc white.
So those are our colors. And this is going to be fun and simple and fantastic. Simple but spectacular. I have every hope for that. So I'm going to put this away now because I want the reference. I've got also looking this on my iPad, but I want you to kind of see what I'm thinking here. I'm going to put this next to me so you see it. Now, yellows and greens and whites and stuff are best painted over white. So I'm going to take the beige color, and I'm going to paint this pair first on this beige color. I want to get the shape so you don't lose the shape. This is the buff titanium. You could use antique white if you had that, just some sort of an off-white. We've been doing a lot more of this color this year. So now notice the bottom of this goes up and down. Do you see how it makes this little curve like a mustache shape? Do you see that? It's like a little mustache shape.
Really easy to do with those angle brushes.
Yeah, these angles are wonderful. They really are. They're terrific. I'm going to just make this a little darker with a little yellow in here. So I have that. I don't want to lose that. Okay, so just do something like that. So that's our first coat on this. And just notice the brush strokes are kind of going around like that. Okay. So far, so good. Whoop. Now I'm going to do the other one in white so that I can differentiate between the two pairs. This is just titanium white. Titanium white is one of those, you want a giant tube of that. When you're buying paint, you buy little tubes for a lot of stuff, but you want the big tube of white, and you want a spare emergency tube of white in your house somewhere that you use.
You can never have enough white on hand.
Well, because if you don't have white, you're sort of out of options. You know, you could probably use buff titanium if you didn't own any white, but wouldn't be certain. Most paintings I find have to.
Color,
yeah, you have to have the proper color. I remember years ago I was teaching for Merlot to Masterpiece on these painting party things, and Jeff would, he had like 5 locations, and he never had the right materials. We were always out of paper plates, or something. We were always missing something. And it was sort of interesting to me because I'm going to just do this. Let's see, I'll just do that there, and I'll do this here like that, so I have it. Okay, there you go. Because he was, he'd be out of a color, and he'd say, he didn't paint himself. He'd go, we'll just make it work. You know what I mean? And this, we're not magicians here. Certain colors, your primary colors, red, yellow, blue, white, you kind of have to have those. You can make some of the other stuff work if you don't have purple, or if you totally ran out of orange or some of these other colors. But dear friend, if you ran out of green, we could probably make it work. But there was always a lot of make it work. And don't add extra stress to yourself by not having the right materials. How's that?
Painting is supposed to be fun and relaxing.
So all right, now that's one coat. Now we're going to dry it, and we're going to do 2 coats on this because that in itself isn't enough. Does that make sense? So I'm going to dry it and do 2nd coat. All right, so let's take white and give it another coat. There you go. Might have been able to make the green work. I just don't like to take chances. Why should I? Why should you? You
shouldn't.
You just don't. Maybe you could make the green work without the 2nd coat. But, I mean, look how simple the 2nd coat goes on as opposed to the first. You see what I mean? And that's worth your time. Here's the buff titanium on this one. Wow, look at the difference. Do you see that? And that's when to know how much paint to use. Look, notice I'm not going back and forth with the Pears. I'm following the pattern, the brush pattern. So just not. I don't have the brush was slightly damp, but it wasn't full of water, so this covered nicely. See that? Look at that. And that is the base you want for these 2 pairs, and you can kind of see the difference between these 2 whites. Okay, so again, what we're going to do is we're going to dry that so that when we do the background, we don't mess this up. Yes and yes?
Sounds like a plan.
We're going to do the background. I'm going to take a small, I can do a round brush. This is a cat's tongue. And what I want to do is I want to mix a little bit of burnt umber and cad red medium together. So I want sort of a reddish brown color. And I'm going to come close to the pear here, and I'll put a little bit of more of the cad red in it. I want this to be a little bit redder, closer to here. And see, I'm kind of making these little circles and flattening it out, right? Because I already have a good background on here, but I want it a little bit lighter, maybe even a little bit of yellow oxide in this. And if you need to, just sort of turn the painting around, and so that you're close to the pears, and then keep making circles, and then until you're kind of out of paint and dissipate it out into nothing. Okay, and turn it over and maybe do something like that. So you see how this is slightly redder. Yeah, well, just here's a little bit of burnt sienna, which is a red color. You could also have used that if you have it. I'm going to come this way, make these circles. And as I come up a little bit further, I'll take burnt sienna and burnt umber and maybe darken it up in the corners a little bit up here. And I think I want a little ultramarine blue and burnt umber up here. So this is the darkest. So there's like 3 colors on this painting, and we're just all, you don't want to see, it wants to look like gradations of smoke, and you have to have, you can't just do this over white canvas. You have to have a layer of color first. So a little bit of burnt sienna here, like that. You can do several layers of these kinds of background colors, but you kind of got to dry in between. You want to do that. Here's the burnt umber and a little ultramarine blue, which is pretty. You know, like that. So we're gonna, again, we have the darker edges, and we can come in here like that. There you go. So now you can see we've got a pretty nice background here. Now, if I wanted this a little lighter, I could take a little bit of, now look at that. That's too much. So I would wipe that off like this on a towel, and then watch. Then I just wipe that off, and wipe that off, and wipe that off, and wipe that off. Kind of like mopping it up, right? And then I might put a little bit of burnt sienna over that, maybe a little bit of burnt umber. Kind of, I can change colors a little bit. Don't get too far into, don't just start making circles, because you'll make a hole, and that really can't be fixed easily. But I want something, I can see even in my photograph, I want something even a little lighter up in here than we've got it. So I'm going to add a little bit of yellow oxide too. Just barely see that. This is dry enough where I can add it. See, just something in it. It will look like a dark brown canvas, but it isn't. Okay. So that's my thinking on this. Here, let's see a little bit of that in burnt sienna. Just barely just get this out there. Sometimes you push a lot of pressure, and sometimes you have hardly any. It takes a little practice, but you just think about smoke only with a redder color, like smoke and mirrors and that kind of stuff. Smoke and mist. Okay, so that'll be nice. Red and green are complements, so a little bit of red next to these green pears is going to be very effective. Now he did a very interesting. Oh, when you look at this table of the table is trying to think. It's just kind of a gray blue beige. It's a gray.
Bring it over because we can't see on close up.
Oh, okay. So it's like a gray blue beige color. I can see some blue underneath it.
Yeah.
I see some blue definitely underneath it as an undercolor. So
the blue-gray.
Kind of, it's a blue-gray. So that would indicate for me Payne's gray, which happens to be a blue-gray color. It's what that would, you know what I mean? I think that's Payne's gray maybe and a beige. Let's see what happens if we do that. Kind of a new mix for me too. So Payne's gray is black and ultramarine blue. So it would be like mostly buff titanium, which I've got somewhere here. We used up a little bit of this, right? When we were doing the pears, let's put a little more out. Okay. Mostly buff titanium with a little Payne's gray. Let's see what happens if we do that. If we don't like it, we'll dry it and do something else. So buff titanium, a little tiny bit of, there we go.
It wouldn't be the first time we've done that.
Try a little brown with that. There we go, a little bit of burnt sienna.
That's looking good.
That's a similar color, right? So we're going back and forth now. We're not making circles. That's pretty close, right? We don't necessarily have to have it all the same color, but we're just, like I say, we'll go back on this. There's a little bit of blue in this, and a little bit of, there you go, a little bit of that color. There's a tone of, there's a little, kind of a blue tone to some of this. I'm going to kind of cut right into the pear, and I'll put my shadows back. I feel like I can do that, probably freehand those in pretty easily. So I want to make sure I've got my pears in here like that. Now, notice that I'm cutting right into that. But everything's staying back and forth. See that? So let's do a little bit of this color and a tiny bit of burnt sienna. And I'm going to come up here like this. I think I will just take my stem out and put that in again too. It's just a little easier than trying to paint around it. And right up to not quite to the where it reaches the right here on the ball of the pear right here. We're going to stop right there as far as the background goes. Whoops. Let's see. Let's see, a little bit of Payne's gray. And the other thing is that computer monitors all look a little different with the color. I've got my downstairs computer has a different one than my laptop. Images look a little different on it. Okay. Than the other one, but I mean this is pretty close, right?
Pretty darn close.
I think probably if I had raw umber, I'd get even closer. Raw umber is sort of it's a transparent green brown, and I'm guessing that probably would get me even closer with a little bit of this color. Now I'm going to put a little water on the brush and change brushes to a bigger brush, say like this, the damp brush, and I want to go back and forth like this with a larger brush now. And make sure I've got these streaks going back and forth. I want it a little bit lighter up in here. This raw umber. A little bit more than I want, so I'll pull some of that off. Now, if I need to change it much more than this, okay, I will have to dry it. In other words, there's a certain amount of drying that has to happen if you need to get too clever with changing your colors, okay? So if I want to lighten this up a little, I'll need to do this and then dry it. Make sense?
I believe it does.
Let's see how close I got. I'm a little bit dark here. You see that? Close. I'm pretty good down in here. Like, for instance, there's a little bit of this raw umber color down here at the base. Didn't mean to get into the gold. Really didn't want any gold in this, but that's all right. Maybe it's what Bob Ross would call a happy accident. Here's a little of the gold. There's a little white there. My goodness, we'll get this. I think I'm going to go back to that other brush. I don't like how that one's brushing. There we go. There we go. I know I want it a little darker at the bottom. And kind of push that out like that. Now, I'm going to dry this and then lighten it up one more time, okay? All right. Okay, so here's another cat's tongue, and I'm just going to take some of this this color. Let's see. That's just the buff titanium, right? Let's just, how am I liking this? I don't like this brush, so Goldilocks is painting today, obviously not Ginger.
And we love it when you do that. It gives us more opportunities to clean the brushes.
Exactly. So I want a little bit of umber in that, and I want this a little lighter, okay? In here. I don't really want any streaks. I just want levels of light. Does that make sense? So I know I want a little bit lighter around here. Okay. So getting putting enough paint on is so important All right. You just need this a little bit of burnt sienna in here too. So, you know, getting the right amount of paint. This is where the advanced stuff comes. If you beginners, you figure if you got any kind of color on it all, you're happy. This is the second coat on this up here. See how I've got this streak in there, and I don't want that. That came from just using kind of a stupid brush. So that was, you know, so I'm gonna. There we go. A little bit of. There we go. Let's do a little bit more here. A little bit of umber. Just kind of more than I wanted. Here you go. So more paint. And we're going to bring this around. That's, I think, what happens when people are painting. Sometimes on these YouTube shows, we do the basic. You know, people want to paint something we do on a YouTube show, and they want to do it big. It was meant to be little. It was absolutely meant to be little, and it was a simple lesson, and you try to make it hard. And because if you want a more difficult lesson, get up to our academy where we have more advanced lessons. These YouTube lessons are not, but this is one where, depending on where your skill level is, you can make this more complicated and certainly make it bigger. So we're taking a little time with this today. I think this is an important skill level lesson. How's that?
That's what
you want to go all the way across we talked about this. And, oh gosh, aren't we close, right?
That's looking pretty darn good.
Looks pretty good to me, right? So now I'm going to take the burnt umber and burnt sienna here, come down here on this edge, and fuzz this edge out. See what I mean? Sort of a combination of these two colors, where the two oceans meet at the Atlantic and the Pacific, where they meet back there in South America. What is that? The Straits of Juan de Fuca?
Oh, I don't know. I know it's really rough seas, so.
Yeah. So we want to just soften this edge, okay? So we don't want to talk about it. Just sort of all goes into disappears. There it is. It's there, but it isn't. Okay. So there's our, I'm very happy with that. So that's what we're going to leave our background. Well, wait, a little bit of raw umber right here in the front. Okay, like that. There you go. All right, so then we're going to put that brush away, and then we're going to work on our pears. Now, if you look at these pears, you'll notice that this is an olive yellow green. And if John were to zoom in on this, do you see it? Do you see the circular brush strokes that are going around it?
Hold on, let me zoom.
Can you zoom in on that? Do you see the circular brush strokes that are going there? And then you see this white was put on last over here, this light color. You see the orange in here. Some of these colors. There's a lot to this, all right, even though it looks very simple. You've got your dark shadow here. All right, so let's just start with a little smaller brush, I think. And to make that green color, it's going to be, and you're going to mix that. So it's on the light side of the grayscale, so it's going to be 98% yellow. A little bit of white, yellow-white color, and some sort of blue, because it's green. So we're going to start off with white and yellow. And let's see, do I have a mixing palette anywhere?
You should.
Nope. Nope.
There's another one underneath that one.
Let's see. Yep. All right, so I'm going to start here, and I'm going to start with my yellow. Add a little ultramarine blue. Okay, that's two blue. More try some cad yellow medium. And that's a little raw umber. 1%. And there's our green. Do you see that? See the green? So we're going to start with that. Kind of a chartreuse, isn't it?
It's a pretty green.
Yeah. So what was the secret? We didn't start with blue. We started with
the lighter color.
The lighter color, because it's a lighter color. And we're going to start following the brush strokes around like that. And put this in here like that. And let's come all the way out to the edge. Something I've noticed that is a habit, if you've been an artist that spent your life doing a lot of drawing, there's a tendency to want to leave outlines instead of color as the difference between what you're painting, you know? So, all right, so there's that. Now, what we notice in here, right, let's see, let's come up here like that, make sure we got that rounded, okay? I've got a little bit of this color with some yellow oxide. Got a little bit of this color over here, so I'm going to put that over on this one, similar. I'm going to add some yellow oxide to it. And then as I go, I'm going to add a little bit more buff titanium with this color. I come up over here, and I'm going to just tint this pear, sort of this light yellow-green. Again, following the brush strokes. And I think I could go a little bit greener, so yellow oxide, ultramarine blue into this. Yellow oxide, that's a kind of a darker, it's a little bit darker green right here, and I know I've got a little bit of a darker, just a bit of a darker shade right up in here like this. A little bit right there. Just play with this just slightly, like so, and it kind of does this too. There's like a little, again, like a little smiley thing that's doing this. Okay. And then if I wanted to go darker, I'm going to just take the same color and just make a darker green. And that's more blue. I want to come next to this pear right here and say that there's the bottom, the shadow on the bottom of this one. Just pull it up like that. Now, you probably want this one to be dry before you do it. I think mine is. But, you know, I just want a little bit deeper shadow right there. And right in there, too. Just like that. Look at that. A little deeper shadow. Just using these greens in here. Oh, I forgot the
triangle.
The triangle. That's all right.
It's dark, and you can put that back.
Yeah, let's just erase that real quick. Here's our gray triangle, which I forgot. All right. Sorry. I totally forgot it. But that's all right. That's what acrylic paint does. You can just put it back if you forget it. There you go. And there'll be a shadow here, so I'm not going to worry about that. So let's try this real quick and keep going. All right. So I'm going to come back in here with my shadow color, or my table color here, rather. I want it a little bit lighter under this one too, so just do this. And now you can start adding more colors on, a little bit lighter under there. There, see that? Just sometimes, you know, it just got a little dark there. Acrylics try darker, okay? So, all right, now, it's interesting because we're still into these greens. And I'm going to take a little bit of yellow and ultramarine blue up here. That's my darkest blue color, and I want to go a little bit darker here. Like that, just to come under here with the, again, with our darker colors. And okay, that's pretty good. And then just lift the brush up like this. See that? Push and lift up. Push and lift up. Now I'm going to wipe all the paint off the brush, and I want to just do this. Let's see. Let's take that and a little zinc white, that color, and a little zinc white. I'm just going to come around here like this and emphasize the, you barely want to see it, but I'm going to sort of emphasize the, this pear by just using the kind of the leftover paint on my brush to shade it. I'm kind of dry brushing. Yeah. And maybe I'll take a little bit of cad yellow light, just put a few little light colors up here. Just keep following the circle. Want something a little bit brighter right there. Okay. And I think a little yellow oxide is in order. Ooh, look at that. Didn't want to do that. That's all right. Rinse that out here. A little white here. So this is one of those things where you just want a few little layers. I don't want this too green. On my monitor, it looks so green. It really isn't that green in real life. On my TV monitor, it looks so green. Let's take a little bit of the cad yellow medium. It's got a little orange in it. Let's just put a little color back in this cad yellow medium and a little bit of cadmium orange, and just put a little bit of this color. And you get too much, it's all right. Don't panic. Just kind of work that in with the there, just like that. So we're going to say then kind of layer over it, okay? A little bit of that color right there. Let's always ask myself, where else can I use that color? I think I want something a little darker back up on top here, and then bring it this way. And that's what we're doing. Just bring it this way, and then bring it up. So that, you know, the shadow's sort of there, okay? All right, so there's a little dark section on the pear, kind of right in here, that he made a little dark thing. And it's so fun. There's like a little bit of kind of reddish brown blemish here, and then something up here. And then there's a little bit of reddish brown on this. And then we've got a stem that's coming out like that. It touches it does this. Now, what it does, it's really, his stem is behind the yellow, so I will erase that right like that. It's behind. That's where his little stem is. We'll put it behind there. There you go. There you go. So we got, now that will look pretty good when we do a little bit of dark here on the shadow right here. This dark right there, that side. It's darker. Okay. And I will put a little shadow under here, right next to the bottom of this, and then come out this way. Now, because there's water on my brush, it's not leaving a nice shadow, but I can brush it on like that, right? Just use the brown and the Payne's gray, I guess. And then the same thing here with this shadow here. Just brush it sideways. Okay, so there's that pear.
A good looking pear.
There's that pear, and we haven't put the white highlight on it yet, but let's do that. Okay, a little bit of white and burns. There you go. There's the light highlight on the pear, right like that. So the other one is done similarly. Let's take a moment and dry this, and if you like doing this type of thing, wait till you see what we have at the Academy release. It's going to blow your mind. Okay, so I'm going to surprise everybody. We've been keeping this under wraps. This is an 18 by 24 tutorial, one of my original paintings, but it's based on what I've learned from painting the old masters. And these fall apples, this basket of apples and walnuts, is what we call a box of cookie lessons. But if you look at the pears and how I'm painting the pears and this background out here, these are the techniques you need to know. These are learnable techniques. I'm going to finish up this pear painting, and and try, because the techniques that you need to know, you just start step by step learning how to do things, how to do a background like this, how to do an apple, where are your lights and darks, which is the direction of your brush strokes, and you can end up painting something pretty spectacular. I think this will be one of our best fall releases we've ever done for the Academy. Find out Acrylic Painting with gingercook.com. You can buy this as an individual downloadable lesson, or you can join the Academy and just try this for a week or a month, and that gives you access, if you're a red or pink member, to a purple member, to personal art coaching if you need a little help with it. But I want you to be able to get to here, and how to get to here, you've got to learn how to do this. Yes and yes? Okay, so now we're going to finish this pear. Wasn't that fun to see that big painting, and just know that that's in your future if you stick with this. All right, so we're going to finish this pear, which we'll just put this over here so you can see it. So I think we're getting pretty close here. And again, we're not forging artwork, we're learning techniques. All right, so just get close enough, and we're happy. And all right, so I know for sure that I want something a little bit more translucent right there. Just curve this around like that. Just come out here to the edge now. Make sure that I've got my edges painted. And I want something a little bit lighter under here, right there. That little buff titanium, that's sort of nice. Just a little bit of that, and I want a little bit lighter right here. And the buff titanium is nice, but a tiny bit of that yellow, cad yellow light is a nice color. Let's see what we do with that. To start. A little bit of yellow oxide here, and I want a little bit more shadow in here. And this is what we call why layering is so important. Now we'll take a little bit of titanium white and buff, sort of a combination. White, just almost like antique white. Come up here and This is where it's the lightest, right here, and it kind of curves. See that? And barely touch it. It's kind of smudge out this this pear here. Let's see. I want to make sure that we follow the curve all the way around like that, so we have the space between the two of them, right? And then there's a little bit of a kind of a brown spot here. Well, you know, artists always want to be so realistic that just you'd think they were historians the way they just there's a bad spot in the banana. Let's put it. Of course, John doesn't think those are bad spots in the banana, do you?
Absolutely not. That's when the banana is best.
Whole lecture on why that's the best, right? Make this a little darker in here like that, and just darken this up just a touch right here. And here's a little bit of the orange color right up in here like this. Okay. And then we've got a little tiny bit. I like this orange. It's the cadmium. And I for one, like a little of that color. I have a tendency to maybe put a little more colors than other artists do. Just like that. But I just felt
maybe just a little.
Just a touch, you know. You don't need much, just a touch of that. Let's just tone that down a little bit. There you go, just a touch. And the thing about it is that something like this. See, I want to put a little yellow with it. I want to come down here like this and make sure I've got this smiley face here like that. This shadow comes down around like that. And like this, make sure I've got that. Okay? You've got that little high. Let's still come around like this. It's kind of narrow here too. Right there. A little dry brushing on the on a little bit of this. There, right there, like that. There you go. A little bit of green coming up on top of here, just on the edge here, like that. Okay. So, now what we need to do is get the shadow underneath here, which is sort of this brown-green color. Come under here like this. The raw umber. There we go. And I know this sounds picky, but I've got the wrong shape for this one here. So this, our gray background color needs to be, this shadow needs to come more like that. Just put that in again. Because you can, right? And that's the secret, you can. I want to come in here like that and lighten this up right here. Because I can. Well, because that's the kind of stuff that makes a difference. If this is, it's just a little bit lighter right there, a little bit lighter in this corner right here. Doesn't have to be the same color, but that can make a difference. And then I want something a little bit lighter right in here with this side of the pear here like that. And I want something greener right next to here on the underneath. Just okay. So, even the stem, the way he did the stem is clever. He did the stem coming kind of up like this. So we can do that. We're going to start with the dark brown paint and red and put the background back because I don't like how I left the stem. So we're going to take that out, the stem, right? We'll just it's knowing that you can erase. Isn't that good to know?
Liberating.
Yeah, so we're going to put that stem up there, something a little, we don't want it too dark because we want the stem to show up, but let's just do something like that. I'll dry that and then I'll put the stem in. Oh, I see something I need to do is why I'm doing that. The back of this pear does this. Right like that. Just by the way it does. Okay, I don't know why I got orange on there. Looking for blue. Take too much paint. Okay, mark that off. I just wanted to darken this up down there. See, I mean, just people just don't realize that you can make such profound changes, and it doesn't have to be much of anything. Here you go, a little bit of this and that. Come around here like that. Round that up. Small stuff, but it's there. Okay. But it's all kind of small stuff, right? Really? So let's do the, I think that's dry enough. Let's go ahead and take the Payne's Gray and the Burnt Umber. Go ahead and do a stem right here. I don't want the Payne's Gray because the stem is darker than the background. Okay. It curves like that. So I'm going to dry that, and then I'll put the highlight on it.
8.
Okay, so I want to do, I've got a little pointy brush here, a little round pointy brush, a little raw, a little bit of orange and yellow oxide. And I want to come up here like this and say, here's the top of the stem. And then I want to come under here like this, and then curve it back. And take a little of this green color and add that to the stem like that. And darken it up on this light side. So you've got this fun little stem guy. And this other one is a little fat, so I'm going to just get the background color in again. And come in here like this and just trim it down.
Skinny it up a bit.
Yeah. Exactly so. Let's darken this under here. Like that. Little rules, it's usually the shadows are darkest the closer they are to the object. Okay, so we've got some pretty good contrast there. Payne's Gray and Yellow is an interesting color too, and I wonder if he didn't do that color for the darker green. I'm thinking he probably did. Payne's Gray and Yellow. Because that makes a very, very interesting dark green, too. I just want to mention that. See? Doesn't it?
It's a good color.
It's a good
green.
It is a good color. And take a little bit of yellow here. Bring some of this down like that. You don't have to do much. You see what I'm doing? So that you don't want a hard line here. I know that's asking a lot, but you want this line to be soft. Not like you'd cut it out of cardboard and glued it on. Okay? And I'm going to take a little bit of this white. Let's just come up here. And just put a little bit right here next to a little bit of white spot right next to this darker spot right there. You don't really notice that you're seeing it, but you are. Okay. So people think, they look at this, and if you just take a minute to look at the Acrylic's dry darker, don't forget it does, so I don't want to lose all that, right? If you just take a moment to look at your reference photo, ask yourself, is something lighter or darker than something else? Did my acrylics dry darker on it when I painted it? Did I need to put a darker color right there? Those are all just pretty simple things that you can and learn dry brushing. Learn the technique of dry brushing where you're not gobbing a lot of paint on. And that, my dear friends, is
whoa, look at that. Instantly done.
The trick to, painting an old master still life, which I think we kind of did, right?
Well, I think you did better than he did.
So again, get the pear shapes correct. I almost see where I could come in a little bit stronger. I know this sounds funny when I'm looking at this going, when I need to cut this in a little more right here. I can. See, if I kind of lost that a little bit, I can cut it back. See? And but your pear shape is really what you want, and you want that light on top of that knob here, top of that little stem. You want something lighter up on the top here, like that. Okay. So that's the big aim here, and I think we have it. Now try this. See how close you can get to Monet. See if you can learn these brush strokes, because this is going to make such a difference in all your painting. Knowing how to dry brush, how to layer, how to do a background like this, a big difference. And if you want to continue your painting journey, holidays are coming up. Why not ask for an Academy membership? It's give a gift to yourself. You can spend a lot of times kind of spinning your wheels in the snow there, trying to figure out how to do things, or just, learn it easily. I know that, for instance, golf, people say, well, I'm too new. I don't want to join the Academy. Her stuff looks too hard. We have all the beginning lessons too, but the thing is, you've got me. And here's the key. If you were going to take up golf and you didn't know anything about golf, and you went out with some friends and they told you some stuff, and you got the golf clubs and you putted and banged around the golf course for a couple of years.
Bang the putters around.
For a couple of years, if you did that, right? It's just saying, right? If you did that. Let me just move this like that. Kind of fun though, right? If you did that, right?
Yeah.
A golf pro would have a harder time working with you, because you have muscle memory and you've developed that habit. So you got to unlearn all that. My favorite people are the people that don't know a thing, because I can take those from 0 to 60 pretty fast, because they just do if you just do what I say, you're golden. So anyway, we're gonna, this is something I'm just, from the bottom of my heart to you, is that before I croak, I want to teach as many people to paint as I can, and spread the joy and love of painting. And I hope we've done a little bit of this today. If you liked our channel, please subscribe. Leave your comments below about our old EGs, and we'll see you next week on another great adventure. And who knows where we'll be.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.
Ginger Cook, the queen of color, with a blazing brush at the speed of light, and a blank canvas, and a hearty yes and yes. The queen of color, Ginger Cook, and her sidekick, John Little, teach you to paint with acrylics.